Well, growing up, my family were known at our local Lutheran church as Creasters. Creasters, for those unfamiliar with the term, is, in my opinion, an ungenerous classification of people who attend church only for Christmas and Easter. Creasters. You see, my parents were survivors of horrific spiritual abuse, and the fact that we attended church at all was a very generous act on their part. My husband, Chad, however, grew up in a different context, in a completely different home, and as the son of a pastor. Let's just say our childhood memories of Sunday mornings and holiday traditions are somewhat different. I'll never forget the first Christmas I spent with the Mustains. Chad and I had known each other for a whopping 4 months, were practically engaged, and both ready to make a great impression on each other's families. So on Christmas morning, we gathered in the living room and listened as Chad's father, Jim, read aloud the second chapter of Luke. Coffee in hand, I remember thinking, oh, this is nice. And then came the quiz. A quiz? Oh no, I thought I wasn't really listening. Jim went around and asked each adult child a question, and I'm not sure what the consequences of a wrong answer were, but I knew I couldn't risk it because first impressions mean everything. My turn came and the simple answers, shepherds, angels, Jesus, and Bethlehem had already been spoken. Heather, are you ready? Jim asked. Yes, I said. Who was the governor of Syria? My palms instantly clammed up and my stomach churned within me, and I reluctantly replied, Quirinius? A giant sigh of relief filled the room. I had passed. For many of us, we find a warm familiarity within the story of God, and particularly within these first few chapters of Luke. The Annunciation, Mary's Magnificat, the beautiful bonding of women, the birth of miracles, an army of angels declaring victory from the heavens, the shepherds witnessing the Christ child. What wonder and awe, what simplicity and love the nativity scene draws forth within. Yet it would be unwise for us to forget the scandal that coexisted within the wonder and familiar of that night. While Luke's accounts begin in the temple in chapter 1, he quickly shifts the story to the fields by chapter 2, making room for God's presence to be found in everyday spaces and places like fields and animal troughs. He identifies the marginalized, the outcast, the oppressed as the bearers of the Messiah and the first witnesses to God's incarnate presence in Jesus, allowing our imaginations to bloom with curiosity and our hearts to fill with hope, because if there's a place for women and shepherds, then surely there's a place for us too. God comes to us through the darkness of a womb, yet bursts forth in light. God comes to us vulnerable, yet demonstrates strength, reminding us that life is one giant paradox, and God's presence is oftentimes found smack dab in the middle, because God is with us. And that, my friends, is the beauty of this story. Wonder and scandal partnering together, helping us to make sense of our beautiful yet messy lives. Because if there's space for both to coexist in the story of God and the birth of Jesus, then surely there's space for both in our lives too. Familiar or not, priester or the son of a pastor, the good news of this story is for us all. We all belong. We all are worthy. We all are loved. Jesus is born this night, and the gift of grace awaits us. It is ours to receive without cost, without shame, without anything but mutual admiration and acceptance. Now, what we do with that gift is wholly ours to decide, and maybe the question of Christmas itself. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Poet Mary Oliver asks. And while no one can answer that but you, I do, church, wonder what wonderful things you will do. Will we find the lost and heal the broken, feed the hungry and release the prisoner, rebuild the nations and bring peace among the people? Will we make music in our hearts? Will we do the work of Christmas? The heart of this church leads me to confidently believe we will answer that call with a resounding yes, knowing the spirit of Christmas will far outlast the season. Because Wilshire, that's just who you are. So Merry Christmas, friends. And may you take your rightful place in the story of God that continues to be written, because you belong. You are worthy. You are loved. Amen.